So it has been a huge week for comic book TV. Loki had its season final, Superman and Lois returned with a great episode, and obviously The Flash had its 150th as well, which I was honestly really happy with. I really liked the episode. But real quick, before jumping into this review, I just want to give a quick reminder to subscribe if you're not already. I make Marvel and DC videos every single week, and every subscriber really helps keep the motivation up to make these videos. But yeah, The Flash 150th, bringing back tons of characters. We had Cisco return, we had Garrick return. This is Garrick's first appearance since Before Crisis, I believe. We had Bart and Nora return to the show in a huge way after their cameo at the end of last episode. And honestly, everyone was great. But one thing I just want to shout out is the music this episode, or the soundtrack this episode. Because the soundtrack in these shows is always pretty good, but for the crossovers, like for Crisis on Infinite Earths and Crisis on Earth X in particular, the soundtrack had this very orchestral, cinematic feel to it that it just felt a tiny bit, more polished or a tiny bit more impressive than the solo episode soundtracks. That was the case here. This sounded very orchestral, very cinematic, in a way that the normal episodes normally don't, and I really appreciate that. There's one scene in particular where Garrick gets his helmet from Joan. He's about to put it on. There's this kind of like violin track playing in the background, and it was really, really good. It was one of the best new themes I've heard in The Flash in a while. So I know they can't keep that up every episode, but I was really, really impressed they did it for the 150th, because I don't even think Arrow for its 100th or 150th got that kind of upgrade to the soundtrack, so I really appreciated that here. But this was an episode very focused on speedsters. Bart has tons to do with Godspeed. Bart was kind of saying that Godspeed is his Thawne, which was a really interesting thing to do, honestly. I wasn't expecting that, so I'm happy that they're doing that kind of thing, giving Bart a little bit more personality than he's just kind of wacky and he's, very loud. I also loved his connection to Uncle Jay, where he was like, Jay was the one guy who told me my impulsiveness wasn't a weakness, and it was a good way to kind of make a connection between Bart and Jay without even showing the two together until the end of the episode, which I really liked. I also really loved that Wally got a shout out by Bart, kind of saying that Wally helped him to just learn his speed a bit and also to meditate in that, because one thing I was a little bit disappointed about was that Wally wasn't involved in the 150th, because they're doing the Flash family like Garrick, Barry Allen, Bart Allen, Nora and Iris, huge parts of the Flash family. Literally, you have them, you're only missing one other member, and that's Wally West. Obviously, there's a bunch of other members as well, but I mean, out of the big members, you have all of them. Wally's kind of the only member you're missing, and it's kind of glaring that he's not there, so I like that they at least shouted him out. But this was also served not just as a 150th, but really well as a penultimate episode, and really well as setting up the final. Like, they put all the pieces on the board, and this honestly is the most hyped I've been going into a Flash final since Season 2, I want to say, because Season 5's final was absolutely great. I was genuinely a huge fan of Season 5's final, but the season up until that point had been so unsteady that I just could not get interested in going into the final. Seasons 1 and 2 were so solid the whole way through, so obviously I was excited going into those. But with Season 7, even though the season had been unsteady, these last couple episodes have been so hype that it has me so excited to go into the final and see what they still have in store, especially since now we're getting the proper August Heart. Like, his scene at the end of this episode was great. I was a little bit worried with how they were portraying Godspeed. Kind of a lot of the voice modulator stuff they were doing wasn't really working for me. The fact that their effects were a little bit weird wasn't really working for me. They're just overall, I thought they seemed a little bit more goofy and less threatening than they should. Then they brought in the actual August Heart, and his scene at the end with Barry where he was just kind of sitting there on what was kind of like a throne sort of thing, making him look like a king. He was very, very, very aggressive. He was very, very, very imposing, and I really did appreciate that. He's the most opposing I felt a villain has been since, I'm going to say, Bloodwork in Season 6. But yeah, just overall, I was really happy with how they handled that. Obviously, seeing Jay again was great. Nora was really improved in this episode. She was honestly a little bit of a weak point in Season 5, I felt, but I feel like they did a lot to kind of improve the character here. It's kind of weird how she acts, because like she's supposed to be 26, but she acts a little bit younger than that, but I think that they improved that, at least in this. It also pairs well with Bart. I honestly think a reason why her character is working a little bit more now is because she has Bart to pair off with, and a lot of the kind of the loud wackiness is kind of pairing well between the two characters, which I really appreciate. There was a little bit of stuff in here with Allegra and with Chester, and both of those parts I wasn't too crazy about, mainly because your stuff was so good, but it was still really good. It was still You know, it was actually better than it usually is. I've kind of been a little bit harsh on the Allegra stuff lately, but the Allegra stuff in this episode was better than usual, which I appreciate as well. The Joe and Kramer stuff, I'm still not really on board with at all. I don't really like what they're doing with any of that sort of stuff. I'm hoping that they can hopefully drop that soon enough. But yeah, I just overall was really happy with the episode. I really enjoyed it. I'm really excited going into the final. I was hoping we would see Thawne this episode, but we didn't really get anything with him. So I can't wait to see him next episode, see if it is Thawne, if it's just some kind of like trick being played on Barry or whatever, or if it is the full-on Thawne is back somehow, which I'm not expecting them to explain it, because Thawne has basically been wiped from the timeline like 6 times at this point, and they never really explain how or why he's back. So I'm not expecting them to do it this time, but I'm just excited to see him nonetheless. I'm excited to see more with Jay, with Cisco, with Bart, Nora, and with all the other characters. But how did you feel about the episode? Did you like it? Did you hate it? And if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and all of that, and I hope you have a great day.